As we all know, Greenville is a community that really values its parks and trails and public spaces at a very high level. And they're so important to our wellness and our quality of life here in Greenville. And our folks in our community don't just value it, but they spend time in the community. And that's different in some places where they like to have the park, but they don't necessarily use them at the high level that we do. And what we've seen here at Verde is that high level of use continuing that happens at Falls Park, Cleveland Park, and our trail system. You can come by here on any day and the playground is busy. And it really is such a tribute to all the hard work that folks have put into this at Verde and in the city. I want to recognize a couple of folks that don't typically get recognized at these events. And those are the guys that are standing behind you with the orange vests on that come into the park on a weekly basis. And they're the unsung heroes of our work. Some of them are hiding because they're bashful. But Chris Boozer is our supervisor that's responsible for this district and this park in particular. Darius Claiborne, Bill Taylor, Trey Moultrie, Charles Fester, and Tim Rainey. Those are the gentlemen that work very hard to make sure that Legacy Park looks the way that it was built. And everybody else that's here as part of the Parks and Rec Department support team, they all have different roles and pitch in like on a very special day like today, so thank you.
Just very briefly, what Dana said is so true about our love for parks, and this has in many respects been a real year of the parks. We put about $1 million into renovation of Cleveland Park this past year with the expansion of the trails, new bridge and the like, and there's more to come. Some great things happening there, and people, the minute you do it, boy, the crowds just increase tenfold. Of course, we have Falls Park as sort of the ultimate in park design and care for parks, which has set a new standard really for the whole city. And then there's this beautiful Legacy Park we're dedicating today. I can't thank the Hollingsworth Foundation and Verde enough for having the foresight to see the importance of green space around which you can really build a community. It really starts with that, especially in a community like ours. And this park is already getting a lot of use, not just from the neighborhood, but all around the city as people discover what a beautiful place it is. And it, in many respects, does represent this higher level of quality that we're trying to incorporate throughout the city. And you've done such a good job with it right here. And this park indeed will be, as Falls Park has been for downtown, this will be a magnet for development and for housing and residential and people just wanting to be here.
Behind me is the master plan for Verde of the planned community, 1,100 acres. And as we all know, it's a very ambitious plan. And as we work through our way to one of the slowest times in our nation's history's economy, this vision sustains. There's some adjustments that might be made, but the vision is wonderful. And we know that once it's completed, that the quality of life of our citizens and our visitors is really going to be that much more because of this development in this park. Councilor David Suddeth wanted to be here, but he couldn't be here. He's in Columbia today, but when I spoke with him last night, he did want me to share a couple of things with all of you. First, he wanted to express his thanks to the Verde Development and Hollingsworth Funds boards, the mayor and the rest of the city council for having the vision to set aside this land to serve as a public park for eternity. He said that as District 4 Council, he's thrilled to see the new housing construction that's ongoing and has really increased recently. That contractors have broken ground on the first commercial property here right across the street from the park. So the residential base is growing, commercial base is growing, and every time he comes here, the park is getting tremendous use. So he wanted me to express his thanks to you and his regrets that he couldn't be here to say it himself. One thing that we know is that Legacy Park, the name is really truly fitting because everyone in this room and then all the organizations and boards that have helped it come to fruition have left not just the park, but they've left the legacy for future Greenvillians for a long period of time. And I'm sure that had something to do as you were crafting the name, but it really is a wonderful symbol. This park is very different from the other ones that we own as a city. The mayor mentioned Cleveland Park and Falls Park. But if you look at the park behind you, it really has a very pastoral country setting. And that's not by accident. And so in order to explain the inspiration behind the design and the design concept, we invited Tom Keith, who's the landscape architect and president of Arbor Engineering, to talk about the park design.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Dana. When I first got involved with this project, I was invited to join a competition and put in a proposal for doing the development of the design of the park. And the master plan at that time actually had a baseball field in the area that you see here. So stretch it a little bit, I looked, and when I walked the site, and what you see behind you was about 10 feet or 15 feet of briars and brambles. It was an old cotton field. There were a few pine scrubs sticking up, and you couldn't even see most of the trees that are left standing. But regardless, I still said I felt like I had to walk the site. And so I got out and literally with a sling blade and cut my way through to kind of find the path through these areas. And I started to see the potential of this site. And so I came back to the group and I said, if you don't mind, I'd like to give it an alternative. And of course, it wasn't costing me anything extra, so they said, sure, why not? But at that time is when I felt like this site really deserved to be more than just another ball field. And so we started to explore the idea of looking at trying to work with the grades that you see, it had the natural contours were just absolutely beautiful. And as you look out there are very few of those that have really been altered that much. And at the same time, I was able to find these isolated trees that had been left, by the farming that had been done on this terrace earlier. And like Dana had said, as we looked at this, a ball field is good during the summer, but the rest of the time, it really doesn't have a whole lot of use, and it was going to occupy a lot of space that really we felt like had the ability to have a lot more use to it. And so the concept of this pastoral or the Park Beautiful or like the Park Beautiful movement back in the 20s, where you saw a lot of the Olmsted type designs done, where you have the rolling terrain, the trees that are dotted in areas that add depth to the views, and then creating these little nuggets of activity that you see along this ridge. And this ridge is also not by accident. It has a lot of. The reason we developed this is, as you notice, the breezes that come up the face of this draw behind you. This area is always cool. In this building, it doesn't matter how hot it is, you're always getting this air movement. The location relative to the street, we were very conscious of the fact that this was going to be an isolated area for a long time. Didn't want it to be, but it appeared that it was going to be that way. And so I wanted to design a space that I felt that a woman with a little child or anybody with by themselves could come to this park and feel secure. And that happens. This location, the visibility, all those things that go into making a successful park and place are the things that, I applaud the Verde family for allowing me to explore and present in the manner that you see today.
We've heard about the legacy and the vision, and really that's what this is all about. As we all know, Mr. Hollingsworth's legacy and wishes was that his estate would go back to support the entire community. From day one, I remember back in April of 2005 when I was fortunate enough to be interviewed to be part of the Verde team, it was clear that this was supposed to be a public park, that it was supposed to be a gathering place not only for the folks that would live, work, and play in the Hollingsworth community per se, but it would connect with the entire Greenville community, and we've been about the business of doing that. It takes a lot of folks, takes a lot of effort. We crafted what we believe is a very unique development agreement with the city that let this happen sooner rather than later. We incorporated that with Rocky Slope Road. So all along the mindset has been that this would be an amenity, yes, for Verde and Hollingsworth Park, but more specifically for the entire Greenville community. So we're thrilled it's unfolding. As I said, there are a lot of working parts to put this together. Starting with Tom's idea, the contractors, you can't imagine how many folks. You can't. There is one person that can imagine how many folks it took to put this together, and what it took to track all of this, and how long it took to track all of this, and how hard it was to track all of this, and how hard it was to keep me from getting frustrated and impatient and dealing with Tom. So Sandra, could you come up here? This is Sandra Bridwell, the operations manager for Verde Development.
Sandra, I'm John Castile. I'm the city manager for the City of Greenville, and while we don't do this often, we have honorary things that we give. The fact that you had the vision to keep Rick in charge, keep him calmed down, and not from calling us and doing all those things and jumping off the cliff. The fact that you understood that that a park, in all honesty, when you look at people in the park, a park when we talk about it, it's about making memories, whether it's a ball field or anything like that. You had the foresight and vision to understand that eventually this was going to be a public park and people will be making memories here. The caretaking that you've done, the commitment to the process, the very long, arduous process. Today, I want to make you an honorary Parks and Recreation. You can have Dana's title. You can be the Director of Parks and Recreation. But secondly, on behalf of the entire City of Greenville, and we mean this, and I'll read what's on the plaque. It goes and it hangs on your wall, but hopefully you know it's what really, really we want you to understand. With deep appreciation for her work and efforts to ensure that Legacy Park was designed, constructed, and dedicated as a public park, and for perpetual use of the City of Greenville's residents and its visitors. Congratulations and thanks for all of
Thank
that.
you.
No.
It's all been very worth it. Thank you.